Okay, beautiful. Welcome, everybody. It's time to get started. As always, these live trading sessions are probably one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. So just massive welcome on this beautiful Tuesday, the 20th of September. I can see the chat's already going. Thank you, Garvin, for obviously already jumping in there. Tumelo, Ashwin, Kutwalo, guys, welcome from wherever in the world you're joining us. Welcome to a brand new New York Stock Exchange Open. Now, markets are going to get crazy. I can already see we have a ton of movements on the markets and we haven't even kicked off yet. So we're seeing a ton of volatility across the board and we're going to jump into that. But first and foremost, we're just going to do a quick touch on the news. Welcome to Darius Naidu, Mel's, what's happening? Joseph, welcome to the broadcast. Guys, if you're not yet subscribed, you know exactly what to do. And as always, make sure you hit and smash that like button, guys. If you're not subscribed, you want to make sure you're part and parcel of that. We have a ton of amazing things coming up. This is only just the beginning. We are only just getting started. So we're going to be jumping in and doing a lot more in the next week or so. So you want to stay tuned and be a part of that. Now, as always, we're going to jump really quickly covering the news and just having a look at the markets. There is not a ton busy happening. We're just going to scour through just a quick 30-40 second view of what's happening in the world, but really from a fundamental and news event, we don't have a ton. So we're quickly just going to talk about, for those of you who are CAD traders who enjoy the Canadian dollar, we got some CPI data here. We didn't get much in terms of a forecast as to where that is busy going, but we can see a decrease in terms of that consumer price index off of the last month, year on year, as well as month on month, right? So that's definitely looking good for the Canadian dollar. Definitely the type of data they want to be showing, they want to be pushing. In terms of the dollar moving into the markets today, building permits are down substantially, right? So there was an expectation of 1.6 and we ended up getting a 1.517. So quite a big standard deviation there. And so, less building permits means less economic activity, which ultimately translates into a potential sign of weaker economic forecasts and outlooks, right? The more building permits that are essentially given out, the more new home sales. Again, as people spend more, they're sure that the economy is healthy. Not when prices get higher. That's obviously CPI. That's not a good thing, especially not in the current times that we are in terms of inflation. Lizzo, Ray, Godwin, Brandon, welcome. Victor, guys, welcome to the live stream. Guys, we're having a ton of fun. We've done a bunch of upgrades to the studio and I'm hoping we're going to have an amazing session here together today. So we're all here for one thing, right? And that's not to hear me talk or to see me talk, but that's to jump straight into the trading and what it is that we're going to be looking at. So we're going to be focusing, as always, we're going to be starting off with indices. I know you guys love your indices. Into his glory, worship, excellence. Welcome, family. Please let me know your name because I see this massive title, massive tag. Just drop your name in there so I know how to give you a call. Beautiful. So let's go. We have about 2.5 minutes to get in. So I think without further ado, let's just jump in and have a look and get started. So we have already quite a bit of movement in the markets. And for this particular piece, I'm just going to really quickly go and just minimize myself there. And what I've got here is about US 30 on the left. I have NASDAQ in the middle and German 30 on the right. And these are all 1 minute time frames. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move German 30 and replace that. Okay, for the reason being, I look at German 30's movements, but I don't necessarily utilize it in order to trade. Now, we had quite a few different conflicting structures that have already broken out, right? There's a ton of volume in this market. If we look at NASDAQ, we had the same structure that we just saw breakouts on US 30. Now, these breakouts that we're busy seeing, and we can see the same structure there, the same structure there, and the same structure there. In most cases, when we see these structures and we see these structures being broken, traders jump into premature trades, right? They see a market selling, they jump in. Not to say that it's not going to continue selling, it very well could. However, I've always learned part of my strategy for the New York Stock Exchange is allow the exchange to open, allow that volume to balance out, and allow the market to show you where it wants to go. Right? We as traders don't have golden balls, right? If someone is predicting a New York Stock Exchange move prior to the time, nine times out of 10, there's some leading indicator, there's something that's showing that it could happen. but it's tantamount to really guessing that direction of the markets, right? And we want to trade safe, we want to do things the Globex 360 way, and we do that by allowing the market to lead. So we are about 30 seconds out, and what we want to really do here is we're going to isolate and specifically look at US30 zoomed in, and we're essentially looking for a change in this structure right here. So we're looking for some sort of volume to the top side or some sort of volume to the downside. Obviously, we've got a pretty decent support just below us, and that is going to be the support that we're going to essentially look for a break in terms of a sell opportunity. But also remember that first candle on in the next second that's going to open up. We're going to wait for that candle to complete itself. If it has massive volume, we'll look at it, but I'm really looking out for potential buy this afternoon. Seeing that volume come in the bottom, right, tells me that either there's one or two things. Either somebody knows something we don't, and there's information that's leaked into the markets about earnings, about any other data, but a buy would be great because we've got a lot of room to do that retracement. A sell is also just as likely. So we're keeping our eyes on NASDAQ. Seems to definitely want to be calling that sell early, but again, as we've seen in the past, we're waiting for the data to lead us here. So we're busy waiting for it, and what I'm doing is I'm preparing my order so long on the left, on the right hand side here. So in most cases, you start to figure out that, trading these types of structures, you go, okay, fine, there's 300 pips there, at one lot, what is my risk sit at? Now, if you're new to risk management, the best way to do and go about that is to set up a pending order as if you were going to take that trade. So you do a buy order with a stop loss below market structure, and you allow that order to run its course. And then you can kind of see exactly what you're in for from a stop loss perspective. But we're waiting for this. New York Stock Exchange open is definitely pushing NAS lower. And I think we might end up selling this. It's a very strong push from NAS. We're getting confirmation from German 30 that she also wants to push. So as soon as we break this level on US 30, we're going to go in for that sell, and we're going to put a stop loss above resistance. Same story, break to the top side. We'll then look for a buy with a stop loss below support. So very, very simple, very clean, very easy structure. I would maximize the screen, but I do want us to just keep that in check. US 30 is a very strong push down. NASDAQ, very strong push down. Again, I'm waiting for US 30 to follow suit here. Now, again, just disclaimer, it's not always the case that we have to see all three move, but it gives me confidence to get in that trade if I see all of them doing the same thing. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a precautionary sell in this moment because I'm seeing nice healthy pushes there, and I'm putting my stop loss not too greedily, but I'm putting my stop loss above a decent area of resistance over there. And we're just going to basically see how this plays out. We can very well still get a buy, but I'm only placing one order, and as that market moves, I'll then add to my order in the case of an event or something like this, where we get a little bit of a range, a little bit of a sideways motion. So we definitely have volume downside on NASDAQ, definitely volume on German 30. But again, we often see that first minute can kind of decide everything. So stop loss is just above where I think it should be or needs to be. And I'm just going to adjust it slightly. And I'm basically covering this zone here, right? So I can see in that level, there's quite a bit of orders, and at least there's quite a bit of resistance. So if I'm going to be wrong, I want to be wrong for around about 200 pips or so. And then again, if I'm right, if we make a big top side break. Now, in terms of a buy opportunity, what would be the perfect buy? The perfect buy would be that we recover on NASDAQ as well as German 30 above that New York Stock Open push, right? So when I talk about New York Stock Open push, I'm talking about if German 30 recovers above that zone, and should NASDAQ, right, recover above this zone, then that gives me all the confirmation that I need to get in for a decent push from a buy perspective. Anything below that, I won't get in it. And again, also remember that we have a massive day tomorrow. So we can expect for markets to be a little bit more cautious in their approach in terms of what it is that they want to get done here. but we're going to hold this and we're going to see what ends up happening with it. I'm very, very close to my stop loss, but again, it's a feeler trade. I'm not maxing out my risk. And so if, this trade gets taken out, I have no issue with that at all. What often can happen is when you're taking a feeler trade and that market touches that trade, we can often see, that move to the downside, but ultimately I'm looking for that recovery on NASDAQ. I'm looking for that recovery on German 30 in order to get long above this particular zone here. So NASDAQ stalling out, German 30 stalling out. So now we're at that point where market makers and the players are busy getting involved. And I'd really like to see a pushback from NAS slightly to that top side. While that's busy happening, the reason why I think that, we could be in for a decent top side recovery, let's get it over there, is that we're sitting at a decent level of support. Looking at the past 2 days on NASDAQ, we've seen this rejection towards the downside, right? We've seen this hesitation to want to push deep into that 78.6 region. So for a buy, the reason I'm keen on a buy would be that we could get a longer term buy and we can start to then complete some sort of sideways formation here that will allow us to hold this trade slightly longer term. So that's the ultimate goal of where we want to be. That's why I'll be more, you see what I'm saying about a feeler trade, and then markets end up moving, and that's perfectly fine, right? A stop loss is there to protect your accounts. That's the reason it's there. That's the mechanism it was designed for. However, we would like to see now, let's just get it, there we go. So we would like to see breaking that previous low. So New York Stock NASDAQ still pushing down, German 30 still pushing down, US 30 giving us a little bit of indecision. And should we fail to break that low in the next, I would say about 5 minutes, 10 minutes max, that would then signal that we could very, very well go long. Okay, let's see on the comments. Waiting for my buy zone. Correct. Good afternoon. Sunveer, welcome. Daily money marking. Use Fibonacci. Daily money markets. I live, breathe, and eat Fibonacci. That's what we do. That's what it's all about. But in these particular cases, from a scalp perspective, you'll often find that was probably a 78.6 pullback in order for this market to correct. The reason why in this particular case Fibonacci would not be helpful is we need to break highs and lows here. Okay, wrap killer, what's happening? Hopefully you're killing just the wrap and nothing else. Beautiful. Lumna, what's happening? It's about time for the best market outlook. Yes. So guys, remember tomorrow, I'm pretty happy to be live with you guys here today, but obviously tomorrow is going to be where it's all about, right? I'm just going to set some alerts, and just in case I'm busy speaking and something ends up popping off here. So again, and just to confirm, right? Should we break this zone and NASDAQ recovers above that New York Stock Exchange open, then we're going long, right? There's no doubt about that. Similar story on German 30. However, German 30 has pushed quite a bit already. So that's busy looking at NAS. Let's have a look quickly. Okay. So I might have swapped around NAS and US 30 there in terms of my charts, in terms of my layouts, but I do also have a structure that I drew out here that could potentially be a channel that we might end up utilizing for a buy opportunity. Just having a look in terms of the RSI, in terms of from a market structure perspective, I think it's very, very probable and palatable that, should we start to get a little bit of that break there, and I'm hearing some movement, so I just want to check what's busy happening on NAS. Give me a second. Okay, so NASDAQ definitely seems that it wants to break that downside move. Let's give it a look there. But we want it to break. Obviously, that's going to be the most important thing. The other interesting thing, let's see. Yeah, she's going to want to break. Okay. Let's then let her do her thing, and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay. Beautiful. So on your NASDAQ, and I've got a sell on NASDAQ, I've got a sell on German 30, on US 30, sorry. And so I'm pretty much dragging stop loss into profit already at this point. You should already be in profit, so you can then manage your risk accordingly. If there's a slight pullback, obviously you don't want to be too greedy with your stop loss, right? Mine is fairly close, but what I tend to do and tend to like doing from a setup perspective here is, let me just adjust that guy there really quickly. What I like to do in these cases is I like to measure that pullback, and this is where Fibonacci can be super useful. And what I would end up doing here is I would end up drawing her out and saying, okay, cool, a pullback above 61.8 would mean, that's a reversal, and we could then start to see. So I would measure that and say, okay, fine, from here to 61.8, we're looking at about, and this is specifically on NASDAQ, we're looking at about 2,000 points. So then what I will end up doing here on my NASDAQ position is I will then on my NASDAQ edit my trailing stop, and I will put in a 2,000 point trailing, meaning that it will constantly pull me in relation to Fibonacci towards the downside. Now, I already have a US sell that I made up here. As we were discussing this morning, that potential break to the top side, we did then get that confirmation directly after that show ended. We got that slight push to the top side, if you guys remember, and then we got that break in structure. So generally when we see a range or we see a rising RSI, we are looking for sell opportunities. We're looking for that RSI to break to the downside, and then we got that, and I put in that my sell a little bit earlier. So I've got a couple $100 just waiting there in terms of that sell already. But yeah, that obviously doesn't affect and make any difference in terms of today's current position. But yes, so you should be in really good profits. US 30 is moving already nicely into profit there. Quick zoom in, let's just give her a look there. There we go. So US 30 is also moving beautifully. And again, same type of story on US 30. We're going to go in there, we're going to set up a trailing, and I'm going to go for 3,000 points on US 30 to the downside. And as you can see, okay, 3,000 is a little bit... US 30 is an absolute machine. So I think on US 30, I'm going to go for 5,000. Right, so I'm going to drag my stop loss to entry on US 30, and I'm just going to keep a 5,000 trailing. Right, I think that is where it needs to be. And so already we're at a break-even situation. Right, we have zero risk. Stop losses are in profit, both on NASDAQ. NASDAQ will move its stop loss into profit as soon as we breach that 2,000 points level. And that just means that we're staying in line with obviously Fibonacci. But if you want to, you're welcome to drag your stop loss to profit at this particular moment in time, and then you're risk free and you can allow that trade to move. However, I'm going to drag mine just to entry. And again, that's the really brilliant thing about why we brought in cashback. Right, so that if you place a trade, and even if your stop loss is at break even, you're still making dollars on every single one of your trades. So NASDAQ is moving beautifully. We are at some point here about 200 pips in profit. On US 30, we're sitting about 400 pips in profit per trade. So as an example, if you've got 3 trades on US 30, you're sitting at about 1,200 pips over there. If you've got about 3 trades in US 100, you're sitting at about 600 pips over there. Combined, you should be sitting over 1,800 pips with your stop losses in profit, meaning you're currently an investor in one of the biggest markets in the world. And this is why I love trading. This is why I get so excited. I'm so passionate about it, is that anybody from anywhere can learn how to do this and get involved in one of the biggest markets in the world. And in this part, I just want to talk about something really quickly. There was a study done overseas that looked at what made the wealthiest people in the world wealthy, right? Was it education? Was it religion? Was it color of their skin? Was it their upbringing? Was it their family structure? And they found that none of those common goals, language, religion, upbringing, none of them contributed. Some might have added to who they are as individuals, but the golden thread, the one thing that made every single one of those people extremely wealthy, was the fact that they were diversified in more than 6 ways. Okay. Now, currently today, if I had to tell you, how do you diversify in 6 different industries, in 6 different spaces, diversify in 6 different assets? Right? Traditionally, you can't, because the average person doesn't have access to that. Forex and financial markets has been technologically developed and brought to every single one of us that we, right from behind a PC, can diversify 6, 7, 8, 10, 30 times over in different spaces in the market. And when you can understand that, you can take that, it's a whole other teaching, it's a whole other evolution in terms of thinking. Now remember, if you have and you are earning money in the South African rand, and Eskom's going out, and there's political issues, and you are at the mercy of that currency. But when you're trading in the dollar, when you're investing in USD, when you're investing in the yen, when you're investing in crypto, gold, whatever you want to call it, you are no longer a sitting duck. You are now diversified in a range of assets across the markets. So just giving a look quickly into our trades. So US30 is running beautifully. We're now sitting at about 600 pips per trade. Let's quickly have a look at NASDAQ beautifully moving. We're ranging a little bit to the downside, but stop loss is already in profit. So a beautiful trading session overall. Now guys, remember, this is the small one. The big one is coming tomorrow. So the Fed interest rate announcement tomorrow night at 8, and I think it's going to actually be announced at 8:30. That is going to rock the markets, and you want to be a part of that. What we're seeing today is nothing. What the movements we're seeing today is nothing. What's going to happen tomorrow is going to rock the markets. Now, if you want to be a part of that, and I'm going to break that down and go into detail over what the interest rate is, I have a suspicion, and I think we could see something unprecedented, right? Before, 75 basis points was, unheard of, never before seen in the history of the US economy. I think we could be in for a shock. I think we're going to be in for something else on another level. So you definitely want to be a part of that. But a great New York Stock Exchange open. We're going to hold these trades, allow them to run, to do their things, manage your risk accordingly. But as always, another beautiful, profitable session for a quick, 15 minutes of trading. That's what it's all about. Now, depending on the size of the trades you've taken, depending on what trades you've taken, guys, this is the beauty of the markets. The markets don't care where you come from. The markets don't care what language you speak. The markets care for those who have the ability to jump in and get involved in a trade. That is what it is all about. So guys, I will catch you nice and early tomorrow morning. There'll be a pre-recorded Pounds for Breakfast show. I'm going to dive a bit deeper into what we could expect from the Fed. What is the ripple effects, not only on the dollar, but the rest of the world. At 9 a.m., as I showed you guys this morning, there's going to be a ton of high volume moves. 9 a.m., just before 9, we're going to go live. We're going to smack some trades at 9 o'clock exactly. And then obviously I'll see you guys for New York Stock Exchange at 3:30. And then for those of you who have live accounts, I will see you. I'm going to email everybody who has a live account. We'll email you a link to the live session, to the special broadcast tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock. Guys, listen, it's been an absolute blast. I'm so happy that the studio is sorted out, that we can be with you at whatever hour, at whatever time, day or night. We can have a ton of fun together. So just quickly reading out the messages. Guvan saying buy limits about to activate. Luabo saying bears are in full power. Absolutely. We could also start to see a reversal. Let's have a look here. Guvan saying, Mark Hooper saying hi, what's happening? Beautiful. So in the event we see a reversal, which is potentially what we could end up getting this afternoon, let's just quickly give it a look. We essentially will just trade the opposite, right? So if market momentum comes into the top side and we go past that opening entry point of where the US not New York Stock Exchange opened, that would be the point at which we would then start to look for buy opportunities top side. So you do want to pay attention to that. And just a trick there, pay attention to that RSI, because it will show you those opportunities before everyone and everything else. I just want to quickly give USD one last look here. So utilize your RSI. Your RSI is going to tell you exactly where that trade needs to be. And again, as always, every time you open or close a trade, regardless of profit or loss, results in cash back directly into your wallet that you can use for trading. Guys, as always, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your comments. Remember, if you're not liked and subscribed, get liked and subscribed. We're only going to keep taking things to the next level. Until I see you guys early in the morning tomorrow, have a good day. And as always, remember to trade the Globex 360 way. Bye.